weekend, I need to cook new food. You know, this is how we spend our money. Take the children, buy things that they really don't need, deceiving ourselves that we're consuming for the family. So what Yewande has told us today is we do not have to eat all our seed. We need to be deliberate about setting aside some of our seeds. That's your money that you can plant. Keep planting until you're able to achieve an orchard. We all know what an orchard is. So with an orchard, you have different kind of fruits. Then you are now at the stage where you can afford to pluck and eat as many fruits as you can. The same thing goes to women in business. You access a loan for your business or a capital or whatever it is, and you're running the business. Your first tranche, you make a profit. And we then said, okay, this is my profit, and we eat it all. The business is not likely to grow. So it's very important, even for women in business, irrespective of the level or the category, to plow back the profits into the business to keep growing the business. I've listened to one very prosperous woman in business who said to us that she ran her business for more than 20 years before she ever thought of buying a car for herself. And we then asked her, so what do you do with your profit? She said she kept on buying new equipment, new style, new model of equipment to ensure that she's able to produce products that fit within the time that people can buy. And today, she's a very wealthy person. She was doing Uber, doing whatever to meet her clients, and you know, she consciously built the business. We can all consciously build our businesses. We can all consciously build wealth, irrespective of the path that we've chosen, whether we're working or we're running a business. Thank you so much, Yewande, for that. Osai, can we hear your perspective on this topic?
Yewande, thank you. I mean, every time I hear you speak, I always learn something new, especially when you mention the financial fitness. I totally get what you mean by that. And also, don't eat your seeds, something that I've heard quite a few times. I mean, for me, let me speak a bit about my own journey. And I mean, I didn't learn it from home, not because they didn't teach me, but because my mom was from the early stages in my life, and my father used to say it all the time before he passed, and my mom used to pay all our school fees when we were younger, not because he couldn't afford it, but she just felt it was one of those things. We all went to, relatively okay schools, and she paid for the school, and we are 8 children. And so he used to say, if your mom can do it with her business, I don't understand why you children think that you should just sit down at home and do nothing. So I started working from an early age. From the age of 16, 17, I was working at, and doing internships quite often. And I remember when I was like maybe my 19 or 20, that someone was even at that time asking us to buy a piece of land when they just started Lekki then. And I remember very clearly that I did have the finances to do that. But of course, like life takes you on a jolly ride, and I started enjoying myself a bit too much. And then, of course, and this is what we all learn. And then after a few years, I had to rein myself back in. But I lost a few years. But I always tell people that when you wake up is your morning. As long as you decide that I'm awake, my eyes are open, that is your morning. Everybody's journey is completely different. Yewande's journey is different from Bingbe's journey, different from Toju's journey. So we're all different. So if it's today that you have woken up, that is welcome. Good morning to you. And so we must all decide for ourselves that we need to focus on what is important to us, what is our own lane. One of the things I tell myself all the time is also, you focus on your own focus. Nobody else is important to you. It's you. And we as women should liberate ourselves from thinking that everybody else is more important than we are. And even the Bible says that that we should leave an inheritance for our children and our children's children. They say that your husband should leave an inheritance. They said every one of us should leave an inheritance. And so that thing always comes to my mind. That it's not about whoever it is that is sitting beside us. It's about we personally. And we have to think and decide what is important to us and why we as women or men should do things in the right way. So when I kind of deviated and moved in another direction and I started working, I went straight into the nonprofit. I started banking and I realized it wasn't for me. Of course, the money was much 100% better than where I am now. And then I decided to go into the nonprofit sector. I remember people sitting me down and saying, look, you only do nonprofit in this world when you have made plenty money. Then you now decide to yourself that you want to be a philanthropist. But I knew that it was also a career. For some people, it was a career. So I had to decide what was important and why I felt to myself this was what my own journey was. And I made that decision. I actually went to do an MBA. And when I got there, I changed it to public administration with nonprofits. And my father did not know till the day I was graduating. And he was in shock, very upset. He thought I was going to come back and be a banker. You know, these things do occur. But when I made that decision, I realized that the financial side of nonprofits, especially in Africa, was very, very minimal. So I had to think to myself, how else can I do things? And how do I manage this? You know, because it's not going to be the same. It's not what everybody else is earning, what my friend is earning, it's not what I'm earning. So as Yohane said, I started looking for other opportunities. What do I do different? Then I also thought to myself, I had to be the best in what I was doing. I have to be significantly aware that people must, if they're talking about what I'm doing in that field, people must know that I exist there. So I strived and I continuously learned. I continuously pushed myself. I continuously asked, wanted to make sure that I was doing extremely well in that sector, because I knew that it was going to take me a while to get to a place where I'll be earning better or almost the same thing. So I had to look for other alternatives. And those are the things we'll talk about later. What other things? I know someone had already asked a question, what else can we look out for? But then again, I was telling Adebimpe yesterday, I now saw something one day online about winning a time to spend with Nimi Akinkugbe. At that time, I think Nimi just resigned from Stanbic. She started doing personal wealth things. And she wanted to give 2 hours of her time. Nimi was my friend, like an mom. I just thought to myself that, why can't I sit down with Nimi? So when I asked someone how much she charges for an hour, of course, I couldn't afford it. But I said, let me sit down with her. Let her give me different options. And in doing that, I had to openly tell her what my income was. I had to tell her what my investments was, and I was like scared. I said, she's going to laugh at me. So I sent everything to her, and then in 2 hours, she broke everything down, destroyed everything I was doing, but advised me. So you have to also be ready to learn. You have to be ready to be vulnerable. You have to be ready to, because if you want to stand sure and stand strong, you must be willing to make sure that your foundation is very, very deep into the roots, because challenges will come. And all of us here have gone through different challenges, even financial, a lot of us, even financial challenges. We've all gone through it where things shake you, or something comes that, you have to spend a lot of money on health issues, not even for you, maybe someone in your family. We've all gone through different things, and we all have to realize that we have different journeys in life. And it's me, I'm getting to a certain age now that I'm taking care of my mother. I'm taking, those things in my 20s and 30s, I didn't even think about. They were taking care of themselves. But now I have to always consider that my parents are there, or my mom is there, and all those things. And, so all these things, you have to start thinking through those processes now. So if you are enjoying, as Yewande says, now your 30s, money is coming, income is coming in, this is the time, especially if you don't have, and I know that some people in their 20s here, if you don't have a family, and then you have to consciously say to yourself, you have to the way you are strategic about trying to make, your in the banking sector, there's something that you have to always do before the end of the year. The same way you have to be strategic about focusing on your life and focusing on yourself. Don't listen to anybody else. When I say don't listen to anybody else, when we are all speaking now, you pick, look at me, I'm writing, I'm taking things down. You pick what is important for you and you look at it and say to yourself, what do I do different? How do I change the way I'm doing things? And then you focus on your lane. And you want to mention, Osai might be wearing this. You don't know what I've done now. Nobody knows what I'm doing. So you can't say that because Osai is doing this and we're at the same age. I am even in banking. Osai is doing NGO work. Let me focus. Let me follow Osai. Don't follow me. You don't know if I got my money from my family. You don't know if I inherited money. You never know what somebody else is doing. Then you don't know some people in this. You don't know if some people are even doing half of what they're wearing is even fake self, fake Rolex, fake everything. You don't know. So you think will be killing you. Want to die. You want to just kill everybody to make yourself better than, so that people. So you want the outside world to make you, give you, that thing of feeling that you're a better person. That's not important. What is important is that you yourself, Osai Alile, when I go to bed at night, how do I see myself? And how do I focus on my own lane to grow my wealth so that it enables me to be comfortable enough to take care of and people that are around me, but also be able to make decisions like Yewande has been able to make to go and work for government. I mean, let me just say that NGO work is the same thing as government because we're all on the same level. But you have to be comfortable enough to do all those things. So I advise, and I'm saying that, as you said, don't eat your seeds. The other thing, financial fitness is important. The other thing I'll mention is making sure that the foundation you are building for yourself, that it will stand sure when challenges come, because challenges will definitely come. Even if you have not faced it now, they must come. It's normal for every human being to go through a shake. And then you must make sure that you're standing strong when those things do occur. So that's my...
Thank you, Osai. I think one thing keep coming strong and strong and strong, that is financial fitness. Is when we're conscious of our financial fitness that we decide we build a strong foundation. And for me, I think the major call to action here is that it's never too late. This is what Osai told us. It's never too late. You can as well start today. Start to set aside that sum of money that you want to start at savings and maybe subsequently move into some investment instrument that will give you higher yield. And as you earn the yield, don't spend it all. Plug it back and keep growing your investment portfolio. So one more important thing is staying on your lane. Staying on your lane. Don't run another person's calendar. Don't run my calendar. Don't run Yewande's calendar. So stay on your lane. Know who you are, and then decide your own path and how you want to walk it. Thank you so much, Osai. Sergio, I'll call you the woman lender because I know you have a lot of relationship with women in business as well as professionals as well. You've lent out all the Lagos State money and even collecting from banks, So I'm sure you have a sense of who they are and how they behave. And I'm sure you have a gamut of advice, to roll out for some of our female customers, our Polaris Pearl customers. So please, can you share your own experience on this?
Thank you very much, Dimpe. I would just say that I learned, I wasn't as disciplined as Ms. Sadiko. I didn't start saving or investing at 23. I'm more like Osai, but I think one thing Osai has said is the truth is never too late to start. And I read recently, one of the biggest wonders of this world is compound interest because it just adds up and eventually becomes something major. But I wanted to take it from another angle, which is just the fact that what's the foundation? What do you offer? What's your service? And how do you make sure you can make an impact in that space? Because that's how you begin to get the funding to begin to look at things you want to invest. My own background, what I learned as a child was we used to run very tiny businesses. We had a big compound and my father would make you pluck oranges and go and sell. I had a talk shop. Then when I was in university, I ran a catering thing. I used to cater for events while I was in school. So a bit of what I learned very early was that, look, if you can provide a service, you can earn money. If you now provide it very, very well and exceptional, you can earn premium. So if you're just the regular caterer and you're not offering the different things, everybody will cook jollof rice and chicken for a party anyway. But make your own menu different so that you can charge a premium. That was one thing I learned very quickly, that look, you need to differentiate yourself so that you can earn a lot more, add value, you have enough, and the margins were pretty good, but they were squandered. However, I've learned very quickly and I've tried to repurpose that work. And so I just wanted to take it from that angle that, first of all, think about yourself. I had an acronym around it, which is called SISI, S-I-S-I. So instead of SISI, have a service that you're providing, you can charge him. Make sure it's about impact. Because whether you're an individual working in the bank or working in whatever strata, whether you're running a business, what's that service you're providing exceptionally well? What's the impact that it has in your society? It shouldn't be about profit. In fact, now we hear about the 3 Ps. It's first about people, planet, before profit. So make sure that your business is structured, or your personality as well. So even when you do work in the commercial space and you're earning high returns, how are you sure that the work you do has the necessary impact? Then of course, we talk about the savings and making sure that savings, or what you, let me first talk about sales, because you then need to sell yourself. You need to make sure you position, you need to make sure you position your products, you need to make sure you position your services. Then you go into investing. And there are different structures today that I'm sure my boss will share about. You can invest in a group, you can invest in mutual funds. And today, you know, one way women can easily grow their wealth is this AJO, the contribution structure that we all so well know. And it's been informal for so long. But I now see structures where we're formalizing it. When we think about a lot of fintech today, they're helping us create structures that make it easier for us to invest. So the 5,000 Naira that you set aside on a monthly basis that you refuse to eat, that seed that you've committed to, and that, by some people say, that's how you pay yourself. Pay yourself first when you get your salary. Some of us will first pay tithes, but then pay yourself if that's the second thing on your list. So you make sure that that goes into a bucket that you don't touch and becomes the thing that earns money eventually. And it's never too small. Whether it's a business, like Bimpe was sharing earlier, you can invest it back in the business, because that is still an investment. How are you growing that investment? How are you leveraging your investment as well? And that's something I would be excited to talk about, but I just want to stop it there for now. But I think critically, see that your service, and make sure that whatever you're providing, you can charge a premium for. Thank you.
Thank you, Teju. I don't know if you've been looking at the chat room. There are a number of questions that's the Q&A box. There are a number of questions there for you, but if you haven't looked at it, I picked one or two, and which I'm going to read out. So the second one says, Yewande mentioned investments while in the bank. Okay, Yewande mentioned investing while in the bank. What percentage of your income were you investing? And how you were able to manage that alongside other responsibilities? Yewande, did you hear that question? Yewande? Okay. And there's another question. How long did it take you?
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Invest enough to leave to take a government job? I don't know if Yewande is having issues with her network. Wow, I think she's freezing.
She can hear you. She was trying to answer the questions.
Can you ladies
I was trying to answer. Yeah, we can hear you, Yewande.
Is what it's like with this virtual event. Sometimes the connection is not great.
So, did you hear the questions? We can hear you now.
Okay, I heard the question, and I believe
Excellent.
I've typed an answer.
Okay.
So I started working at a very young age, and I was lucky that I started in banking. I started as a banker at age 20, but from 20 to 23, I focused on, buying clothes that I liked and the like. So I spent on, it was only and I started with investing in the stock market. I told myself I wanted to buy a house in Ikoyi, as stupid as it sounds. I grew up in Bagada, and I didn't like crossing Milan. So I started off by telling myself I wanted to buy a house in Ikoyi. The people who live in Ikoyi don't have two heads. So I invested
No, we've lost her again. Or is it just me?
Yes.
You know, they were losing
Ask
you.
myself or a salary increase, I said it. And,
We can hear you now. All right, so Sahi,
maybe we can type the message to us so she.
Yes,
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. So there's a question that talks about what kind of investment opportunities can we suggest to ladies in their 20s? You know, you started out quite early as well. And so to share some ideas, there are a lot more questions. I'll just be running it across or so that we can at least answer as many as we can. Thank you very much, Asai. Over to you.
Okay. I think Yewande was just about to mention buying stocks. I think maybe because I come from a family of stocks, it was something that I learned from an early age, and it was something that I've done from a very early age as well. In fact, all our birthdays, we always got stocks as birthday presents. So those things are important. And I always tell people that sometimes even giving gifts to families and children and friends, kids, I mean, so many mutual funds now, you can even start with 10,000 Naira. It doesn't have to be anything too heavy. And if you are one of those people that are not very, a risk taker, mutual funds might also be something that you can look into, because, at least to a certain point, you feel to yourself that, okay, somebody is taking care of all the decisions. I don't have to think about what I'm investing in. So mutual funds are also something that you can think about. And then all those things, you can do direct debits on them so that you don't, before the money has even hit your account, they've already taken it out. So you cannot decide to yourself that, I don't want to buy this one. So from the beginning of if you get your salary on the 25th, in fact, on the 26th morning, before you wake up, you have a direct debit. So they take it out quickly and then it continuously goes in. In fact, I was looking at one I bought for my son 10 years ago, and I'm in shock of how much it's grown over the years, and he's now 19. So all those things are things that you can look at, and that might be a bit passive, but at least to a certain point you are investing the money. It's going out there. I know that we don't have many. We have a complete disparity of different people here. So bankers and business entrepreneurs as well. Shop wisely is another thing. You don't have to buy everything that you see, everything you like. And so you have to be very careful about how you spend the money that you make. You have to also give yourself a budget in the month. I think they asked you one day, I know she will answer that in terms of how much she invests. You have to also say to yourself that you pay yourself first. And those things are discipline. You have to just continue. You have to just say it and just do it and all that. One other thing that someone was mentioning to me recently was, a lot of young people now, but these things are, you have to really think through it and be sure. Investing in a few businesses that I have done that. I've lost some, but I've also made some money from some of them. Investing in young businesses are just starting, but I always also give myself an exit strategy as well. That if after 5 years they're not doing well, then I step out, or if they are, then I continue. In fact, there's one of them I invested in a few years ago that I wasn't able to take my money out, but recently I'm just hearing that they are making a lot of money. So they've been sending me messages to say, okay, let's sit down and talk about how they want to buy the shares back from me. And I'm thinking to myself, you must be joking. Hey, we're here, do or die. All of us are dying together here. So those are things that you have to also consider, all those opportunities out there. What I tell a lot of bankers that are my friends, that you can try and spread your net wide. A lot of us are bankers. We just are very conscious of just the banking sector, but there are other things happening. Tech is not a big player. We have small agri. There's so many things out there. Be knowledgeable about them. Ask questions. Know what's going on. Don't just do credit and debit. Just ask questions. Find who else is there. What are they doing different? What are they? Are they managing here different? I'm not saying you must invest in every business, but ask questions, because sometimes it enables you to know what else is out there and all that. And then for career people like myself and Yewande and Teju, don't neglect your career. A lot of times, and we just do the job. we don't grow the career. You know, doing the job is different from growing steadily, strategically your career. It's very, very different. So don't neglect it, because if you are there at this period of time, you must realize that this is what is also giving you the income that you require to help you to invest in other places. I'll let you one day also speak about other things that she had mentioned. She was about to mention before, and we'll come back to it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sai. Is you on the back?
Yes, she
Yes,
is.
I am. Apologies.
Okay.
I don't know what happened though. I wasn't trying to dodge the question.
It's okay. So you were saying something?
So, I mean, Osai has made some of the tools that you need to use. The first one, obviously, financial discipline, direct debits. I started off by telling myself, I grew up in Bagada. I told myself, the people in Ikoyi don't have two heads. I want to buy a place in Ikoyi. That's where I started. So because I set that goal, I don't remember that I decided a percentage. I just told myself, if I live frugally, what can I put away? But I got to a point where, you know, if you're an Ijebu woman and you're living frugally, you can invest, 70% of what you earn without being conscious of it. Every time I got a salary increase, every time I got a bonus, I asked myself, if I did not get the salary increase or I did not get the bonus, would I not survive? So I invested that amount. And direct debits are fantastic. I invested largely on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I also bought a lot of mutual funds because I did not have enough at the beginning for real estate. If I had money that I needed in the short term, because it's always important. I mean, the stock market is not a short-term market. It's always important to have money for short-term needs. So the money for short-term needs are kept in fixed deposit. But I didn't have anything that if somebody called me with a sub-story, I could just reach to give. I was very, very light on cash that would go to sub-stories. They pull out, fall for them. I'm not saying don't help people. I'm saying you can't help everybody. And you cannot help everybody to your own detriment anyway. As soon as I got enough from, all a variety of those investment sources, and Osai is right, cannot lose. So don't put too much money in any, venture that you are not as set, that is not as tested. Once I could afford it, I bought land. Once I could afford it, I bought land. Once I could afford it, I did a development on that land and started, earning rent. My view of rent, by the way, many people, when you say get into real estate, they assume because I wanted to live in Ikoyi, I cannot start by buying a house in Ikoyi because I cannot afford a house in Ikoyi from day one. But you can buy a place where you can afford. So I think the first real estate that we bought was some estate. I don't even remember the name of the place now. It's very well developed now, but it was along the Lekki axis. It was very, very far away. And then I bought something in Bagada. I didn't want to live in Bagada. I wanted to live on the island. But the rent from that property in Bagada was subsidizing the rent that, that I had to pay in Ikoyi. So planning it such, the fact that you're buying real estate and where you can afford is Mowe doesn't mean that you need to live in Mowe, because Osai has talked about the importance of planning your career. So I believe in living as close to the office as you can afford. The peace of mind, the flexibility, the ability for work-life balance that it gives you is invaluable. But the rent that you collect from that place that you can afford, the capital appreciation on that adds up towards, meeting this financial goal. And passive income, when people think about PP, it is just to earn another source of income. And I like the way Bingpe summarized it. It is not that you need to leave your job, this job that has a bright future, and jeopardize it because of some PP. Take that job very seriously, but very consciously, very strategically plan that in my old age, when I will not be able to earn this much, I want to live a comfortable life. I defined myself when the pension reform started. Pension administrators have a calculator, I worked for Stanbic IBTC for 23 years, and all of my banking till this day, I do with them. I hate to mention the name of another bank. I don't mean any offense. I'm just saying. But most PFAs have a pension calculator. I went on that pension calculator. I must have been 30 years. Sorry, at 30, I told myself I wanted to retire at 45 and start a second career. And like Osai, be able to do the things I like. Because banking, requires a certain amount of time from you. It doesn't have the same kind of impact as nonprofit, but it takes your time. And I told myself that when I become 45, I wanted to retire to do what I like. But that's, in investing very, very aggressively was something that I consciously did. And then diversifying, your sources of income. So with the pension calculator, I told myself, when the stock market crashed, I lost a lot of money. So I had to do a lot of resetting. But I used the pension calculator to ask myself, if I work until the age of 60, or if I work until age 55, how much do I want to get every month for my pension? How much must I put to, and the pension calculator will tell you how much you must put aside. So by law, the amount that is invested in pension, I consider to be too low. So I started doing by myself voluntary contribution. And my voluntary contribution was very aggressive. As I said, as you grow older and with family obligations, you use some of that money for those needs. But I focused first on what I wanted to invest, not what I wanted to spend. It's just a different way of thinking about it. I'll stop there so that I don't monopolize all the speaking time available.
To you, Andy. I love the way you ended it. Focus on what you want to invest, not what you want to spend. And I think this addresses some of the questions that I see on the screen. Someone saying, I noticed after saving an emergency will come up in the family and I'll have to use my savings for it. Then I stopped saving. What do you think I should do? I think what you should do is the last comments made by you, and they focus on what you want to invest, because when you invest, it keeps multiplying the sum for you. So even if you have to take from it to solve the emergency, you're not taking everything in entirety. So she also talked about investing in real estate, start up by doing a direct debit, just do something that will enforce you to save. Today in Polaris Bank, we have the Polaris Bank Target Savings Scheme. It's a scheme that does not give you ATM, debit card, no withdrawal booklet, nothing. So it encourages you to just keep putting the money in there, while at the end of the day, you can then agree on what investment portfolio that you want to push that. So there's one other major question that I think Osai should take for us. Someone said there's still a lot of internal resistance in society to women stepping up and owning power and taking control over their finance. What step can women take to become financially independent and knowledgeable? This is your talk, Osai.
Yeah, I think we had mentioned it from the beginning, I didn't pay that. Yes, the truth about it is that the environment we live in, there's still a lot of resistance. People do not, in fact, not a lot of women that can speak openly about the investments they make, because they have to hide it. They have to be quiet about it, because people will say, oh, you are trying to become independent, So it also depends on the environment you're from, the kind of family and all that. But I still think that is something that you have to do. And I know not everybody here is a Christian, and that's why I mentioned the biblical verse that says you must leave an inheritance. They didn't say your husband must leave. They said we all of us should leave an inheritance. So you have to consciously decide to yourself how you do it. And then plan, I don't think it's not something that you must throw out on social media or Instagram telling them that you're making money. You can be doing it quietly. Nobody needs to know what you are doing or why you are doing it and everything. Let's just manage the one in your family. Let them know what is going on, and just do it. It's there. I'm not going to hide, and I'm not going to say it's not there. I was telling Bimpe yesterday that even issues of going home where a woman cannot speak up. So we do have a lot of legal issues, policy issues that restrict women from moving and earning and doing better, even in the villages where you sit down somewhere and they say, oh, you're not a human being because you're not a man. So be quiet, let the man speak. And while maybe it's the woman that is even bankrolling the whole festivity that they're having in the village, these things occur. But you can't solve the matter in one day. So you have to go also from a mind of saying that. That's why I say focus on your own lane. Don't, whatever they are doing and they are saying, don't let it bother you. Just do your own quietly. Manage yourself. Make your investments. Don't put it on Instagram. Not everybody must know that you are doing it. Why must we know? And everything. Even you and they, I almost wanted to ask, where's the house that you invested in? But that's her business. She has done it quietly, and everybody, and her husband will know, her children will know, and all that. So, I mean, and I mentioned my mom that was paying her school fees in Corona when we were younger. We didn't know till my father was about to die. He just told us that your mother was the one paying the school fees, and she did it. And she doesn't, it's not something that she announces, but something that she's done because she believes to herself that her children needed to be going to a better school than when maybe at that time when my father thought he could afford, because he was working in an organization that there was a certain amount, but she was an entrepreneur. So she was making much, much, much more money than he was. So there's always a balance of how we manage these things. But you know your family, so you know how to manage them. You know the environment you live in, you know how to manage them. You know your church or your mosque, so you know how to manage them. So just manage it quietly and do what is important to you. Do you. Focus on your own lane. Don't allow anybody to come and be telling that this is how we have been doing it in this family for 100 generations. When they say it, just smile, do your head like this and say, wonderful. This family is very wonderful. And then go to your house and make your own investments. No matter how small it is, begin to just move and do something. Because these are the same family people, when something occurs, they will start looking for you to help them to do this, to do that, to do that. And I think somebody asked another question, where they mentioned that I use all my savings when a family thing occurs. Give the family, put it in your mind that there's a percentage you must spend on family. If they see that you're always bringing the money out, they'll always continue to come to you. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as, especially if you're single, because in their mind, they're thinking you have no children, you have no husband, so all the money you're earning at Polaris Bank, you must give it to us. No. It is not their entitlement. It is you are the one working for this money. So yes, nothing wrong with taking care of your family. I do it. But I know a certain percentage that I spend, and I use that. Once I finish spending it, everybody, I'm looking at all of them like this with my eyes opened. And so that's why I'm always encouraging all of us, my family, let us work hard. If there's any opportunity, I send to all of them so that everybody can also be doing the same thing as well. So these are the things that you have to think of. Don't spend all your money on family, because when something happens, they might not spend for you too. Some of them will. I'm just giving you generic. I'm not saying that your family is bad, but just generic things that they might not spend on you as well. So just give a percentage, do it, and keep your orders. And that's why the direct debits of what you want there, and Teju also mentioned before, even as an entrepreneur and as a business person, in your mind, you know what you are spending on investments, you know what you're spending on your business. Let the money just clear from the beginning. Once it clears that you have only 200,000 in your account or 5,000 naira, you know that that's all you have for the month. So you have to manage that, and you find out that your system will manage that amount. Whatever the case may be, you just find out that you will find a way of managing it. But let the investments go first. Let the savings go first. Let the emergency fund go first. And as I always say, challenges will come. And I keep on saying it because all of us are getting to a certain age in our lives and things are happening. I know a friend, when in her 20s, both her parents died in 6 months. And she had, these are things that she was doing extremely well, but her parents were very okay. And she had to start taking care of her younger siblings. Those things happen. Those are emergencies. And you have to make sure that you have a fund that is waiting for you that can help you at least jumpstart the issues that you're facing as well. So that's my own thinking. I'm sure Teju has seen this many times, so she will have more things to say about this as well.
Okay, thank you so very much, Asai. You understood the soft story, so the soft story. So be careful of the soft story. Choose plan for the soft story, that you want to attend to. Take away what you need to invest first. Then you decide on how to attend to the soft story. So we're going to take one more question. We're going to attend to those other questions by email. I see a lot of questions on how do I open the target savings account? How do I open a Polaris PEL account. We would get back to you by email. So just this last question before we then ask for your final word to the participants. And this question goes to Teju. Someone is saying, how can I raise money for a business? How can I raise money for my business? Thank
you very much, Bingwe. And I think I've seen quite a number of the questions about what we may be saying, maybe a bit, some people are thinking, oh, is that possible? But believe me, Rome wasn't built in one day, and everybody starts from somewhere. So even if you want to raise money for your business, sometimes it's advisable that you already have some savings as well. So there's some savings you're going to use to start the business. You know, something Osai just mentioned about this tech company that is now making money. They raised money from her, but because they needed the money. So first, if you have your own money, beautiful, you can do that. Second is you can do family and friends. Then of course, third, you can go to angel investors, you can go to investment banks. You have all those options to raise, whether you want to raise debt or you want to raise equity. And in some cases, you want both, or mezzanine financing to tidy you over to go into something. But if you have your own money, there's something you can start with that. However, that's the first thing, because even if you're going to borrow money, you have to show your own commitment. So if people see you, they're not going to just evaluate a business idea. People are still going to look at what is in the business. What have you put into it? What is your own investment that can give them a level of comfort that they're just not taking a blanket risk on the business for you. So you're not using other people's money to fund the testing of your idea. So I would just say that there are different structures you can use under any of this opportunity. Do you want to look at what you have, what can family and friends provide, and then what can external investors bring to the table for you? And it will be in different structures. It would just not be equity or just debt. But first do that, and then before you start looking at options for loans, don't start a business on credit. Do not start to build a business on a loan. It's not the proper structure, especially since you've not tested it. You don't want it to be the emergency that you're using your emergency money to cover. I will just share that very briefly.
Thank you so much, Teju. So quickly, because I noticed that, yes, we spent so much time, there's so much focus on professionals in paid employment. And I do know that even the learnings can also be transferred to women in business, entrepreneurs, okay? And sometimes we see growth like a myth, as if it's something that we can never achieve. So I'm telling you that it's achievable. And I'm not going to be calling the likes of Dangote or Tedola. So let's come down home and see small businesses, indigenous businesses like The Place restaurant. We all knew when The Place started, okay? I think their first outlet was on Ikeja GRE. Today, you and I, or we can all see how many outlets that The Place has opened. And I'm very sure they did not do this by eating up all the profits they made from their first outlet. So even though the banks are there to support by providing funding, I'm sure they also try to build back into the business such that they become credit worthy, which is one major problem that we see in banking. If you bring in SMEs into the room today and you ask them what are their major challenges, they will tell you it's funding. It's not true. We're banks, we're hawking money. We want to lend to everybody as much as we can. But the major problem is we're having a deficit of the kind of SMEs that we can fund their business. So it's important, even as business owners, to apply all those experiences that have been shared today. Apply it into your business. As you start the business first, like Teju said, don't start with a loan. But as you start with your seed fund, your seed capital, be conscious in growing it and making yourself bankable so that you can get support from banks to continue to grow. The same thing is Booker House. We know Booker House. We all know Ebano chains of supermarkets. Ebano is a very prominent case study in most of the business schools all over the world today, not just Nigeria. So it's a Nigerian business. It started small. Ebano started with less than 2 meters, square meters shop somewhere in Bagada. And today we can all see where they grew through. We have the Nolly food, we have So Fresh, we have everyday supermarkets somewhere in the East. So don't think that as an entrepreneur and as a woman in business specifically, that you can only run this your one small shop in 10, 20, 30 years. You can actually grow. So you can dream bigger. You can compete with the bigger names. So it's just important for you to take on the learnings and be conscious. Was it you, Andy, that said, look at the future and then determine how to start today? That's your financial fitness. Financial fitness also involves ensuring that you keep your records and you put yourself in a state that anyone would want to invest in your business. So I think we'll go on to the wrap up, and I would like you, Andy, to give us, your last words, to round up what you have for us, especially the participants. Yewande has disappeared again. Osai, can we have your wrap up while we wait for Yewande?
Okay, so she'll soon be back. I mean, I know that International Women's Day is often a time for soul searching, where we're all asking ourselves questions. We reflect upon the joy and challenges of being a woman, and especially in a country like Nigeria. While we know that there are societal challenges and cultural challenges, and we know that these things are battles, we don't take it for granted. And I know quite a few people are listening and thinking to themselves that these things do exist. But we must also know that we have to address these things with caution and very strategic as well, and say to ourselves, what do we need? And that's why you're all on this call. For almost 300 women to come here, they want to learn and they want to do better. We all want to learn and we all want to do better. So my own thinking is that we must always think outside of the box. Don't be lost in the rudiments of the day-to-day living. One of the things that Yewande and Teju have mentioned is thinking far ahead of what's going on now and saying to yourself, what do I want to achieve? And you have to consciously decide for yourself what is important. For me, even when we talk about financial fitness, spiritual fitness, and all those things, I think that it's also important for you to know who you are as a person. And once you do that, it makes it easier for you to accomplish and overcome anything that you're dealing with. So know who you are as a person and decide what is important to you. All wealth is a product of labor. It's a product of labor. All of us have to work, and we all have to work hard to achieve our goals. Investing is as easy as can be, but it also can be very risk-taking. So I ask that you continuously find the information, decide to yourself that you want to become more knowledgeable, and what you need is at this particular time is to go to the next level, and then begin to understand why you're even doing this in the first place. And as Teju says, that in terms of you, even if you as a businesswoman, you're out there, you're thinking of it, you have to build yourself, because nobody's going to invest in something that they're worried about. If they see you and they're thinking, there's something about this person I'm not sure about, you're always very skeptical. So you build yourself even in business as an entrepreneur, you build yourself in your career as well. I mean, there's no way Teju will be running this kind of organization if she had not built herself for people to say to themselves, I can invest. Anytime a person gives you a job or something or investment, they are also investing in you. So every one of us are on this call, we have to continuously invest in ourselves. And as women, we must constantly strive to create wealth for ourselves so as not to be dependent on anyone or seen as a liability. We are not liabilities. We're not called to be liabilities. We're independent women that are strong, but are also beneficial, not to our families, but to the community that we live in. So I thank everyone for listening to us today.
Thank you so much, Osai. Thank you. We really appreciate you. So before I call on Teju for her roundup notes, just because I see a lot of questions and we really can't take these questions. So I will encourage the participants to please input your email address and mobile number. We're definitely going to have a repeat of this webinar, okay? And I think based on this and the number of questions that are coming in, we might end up setting up a Pearl Club. The sense is for us to be able to send you the invite, because there's so much to learn by women. And we have those great people who have volunteered to at least give their time once every quarter. So we can keep sharing and keep tracking ourselves to be sure that we're doing well. So I'll call on Teju for your round of notes.
Thank you very much, Josiah, for that statement. Is that what I would say in closing really is about begin with the end in mind. Be focused about what you want to see at the end. Ms. Adiku said she knew she wanted to live in Ikoyi. So set your goals. You have to start with that so that you can keep that in focus, and before you, when you are taking your decisions, when you want to buy that extra whatever, when you remember your goal, you are knowing that is why you're not buying it. And I always tell everybody, because your vision or your goal directs your why. So you know your purpose and you know why you're doing the things you're doing. Why do you want to have that abundance? What's it for? Be clear about that why. Education, investing in yourself, like I said, education is an investment, it's not an expense. Every time you buy a book, every time you pay to listen to somebody, you're investing in yourself. It's an investment that is critical and often really neglected. But when we begin to understand it, that it's really an investment, you will then understand why you pay when you pay to go to school, or you pay and you buy a book. And I said, for me, and then at the end of the day, please let's be clear about why we want the wealth. Extremely important. Let's be true to ourselves about it. And then let's be conscious about achieving what we've set ourselves to. Thank you very much for having me again, Bimpe. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Teju. We're back to your desk, Yewande.
Sorry, I was disconnected for a short period, so you might have said something that I missed.
Yeah, no, we're wrapping up, so just your wrap-up notes.
Okay, I mean, I've enjoyed listening to Teju and Osai this afternoon, and I'm sure that all those connected have learned a lot from it as well. I believe it is important to take charge of your financial future. There are many things you can learn from all of us, but there are many parts of this journey that you must chart your own. Financial independence for all women I consider to be important. You can choose to be interdependent on your partner, but developing that financial independence is important for all of us. And I'll go back to that comment I made about not eating your seeds, not looking at women who are more successful, women who are dressed in a particular way and thinking that you want to be on their level. Of course, you will get to their level, but you will never get there if you don't make the investments now. And you will never be rich enough to start. That's the reality. You will never be rich enough to start. Whatever you earn now is where you should start at. What you can put aside now is where you should start at. And it's never too small to start with. But thank you for this wonderful morning's discussion.
Thank you, Yewande. Thank you so much. I don't think we can have enough of you guys, So, and I do hope you will answer us when we call you again. So at this point, I'd like to call Mrs. Titi Abiodun to help say thank you to our panelists as well as the participants. Mrs. Abiodun.
All right. Good morning, all. It's been a great session indeed, an impactful one. On behalf of the board and management of Polaris Bank, I wish to thank everyone that has participated in this webinar, particularly our keynote speakers, Teju Abisoye, Osai Alile, and Yewande Sadiku. It's been a great session. Thank you for imparting your knowledge, sharing your experiences, and motivating women as a whole. I also want to appreciate everyone that has contributed in one way or the other to the success of this program, impacting the lives of women globally. I also want to thank everyone for taking out time to attend, and we wish every woman a great future. as we boldly challenge the status quo and become women of great wealth. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mrs. Abiodun. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teju.
Thank you all. Take care.
Andy. Thanks so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Saeed. Thank you, Mrs. Abiodun. John.
I still have 10 gigs saved. Who they throw me, Jackie?